Welcome to the Raw Food Health Empowerment Show. Today is a special edition of the Raw Food Health Empowerment Show because we are focusing on something that is crucial to our health, and that is water. Did you know that 85% of our brain is water? Actually, all the organs in the body, with the exception of the bones, is more than 50% water. Our entire body is 50% water. So you know, if you read my book, You Can Afford to Be Healthy, how crucial water is, and I even make a recommendation of how much water you should be drinking on a daily basis to make sure that you stay hydrated. But beyond that, there's just so much confusion right now. There are trends in the wellness industry right now with all these different types of water that's on the market, and it's kind of confusing, so I want to help you sort through that. So we all understand how important water is. We all can do a better job at drinking sufficient amounts of water daily. So, I had to grab mine because I'm not about to be sitting up here being a hypocrite. I got to drink my water. And typically what I do is I down 33 ounces of spring water every morning. And a portion of that, like this 10-ounce glass, I'll have with lime, a fresh squeezed lime. And I recently started putting ginger in there. But yeah, gotta drink the water. But what I noticed for myself personally is when I drink 33 ounces in the morning before I eat anything, I'm able to meet my goal of having 60 ounces of water a day. All right, so let's break it down about water. Now, everything in the body is basically, it's all chemistry, okay? Yes, you have to study biology to become a doctor, but you also have to study chemistry, and there's a good reason why. Everything really boils down to chemistry. So when we talk about water, water is actually, according to Dr. Gabriel Cousens, so if you're very much into the health and wellness movement or into the raw food movement, then you know Dr. Gabriel Cousens. He's written many books. He wrote a book called Spiritual Nutrition, where he talks about the fact that water with hydrogen, with more hydrogen, right? They're hydrogen donating water is more hydrating to the body. Tap water, chlorinated water, they're definitely not hydrogen donating. But where can you get this hydrogen donating water from? I feel like that may have inspired this hydrogen water trend. If you haven't heard about hydrogen water, basically hydrogen water that's on the market is made by infusing more hydrogen into the water. So it's an unnatural process. It's made just like you run tap water through an alkaline water machine. That's an unnatural process. They're doing the similar thing, but with the intention to infuse more hydrogen into the water. And these companies are claiming many benefits to this hydrogen water. So the link to my blog post where I go into detail on all of this, if you have sciatica pain, muscle spasms, if you've had issues in an airplane recently with your health, then definitely you want to read this blog post because it's going to go into way more detail than I'm going to cover on the show today. But I'm going to read this one section. The makers of hydrogen water brands here in the US claim that the water increases energy, aids in rapid muscle recovery, boosts endurance, reduces lactic acid, and reduces fatigue. And in Japan, they're practically bathing in it, like literally bathing in this water. It's actually been popular in Japan since the 1960s. But, and I say it's similar to alkaline water, as in you can buy, back when alkaline water was a big thing, which right now it's still a big thing. It's probably increasing in its popularity. But you can buy an alkaline water machine to take tap water and make it more alkaline. You can do the same thing to get hydrogen water. They have machines to make hydrogen water. They have tablets. They also have hydrogen pouches. So there are ways to get it in. But is this water worth the money and investment? Is it really the healthiest water you can be drinking? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Like I said earlier, I personally drink spring water. Spring water basically comes from natural springs. So it's, just water made by God. However, it's bottled, so the USDA already has its requirement to have at least some kind of filtering going on, so we're not getting pathogens. It's definitely not raw water. If you've been following that whole thing where people are drinking raw water and getting all these pathogens, and some people in the medical community are saying this is putting us back centuries because you put yourself at risk for all this bacteria. Yeah, because raw water can cause dysentery, diarrhea, all this stuff because there's pathogens in the water, which you wouldn't get from drinking spring water, because spring water, they're actually going through a filtration system. They're not adding anything like they would tap water. It's still the pure water from the spring, but filtering out pathogens, right? That could potentially make us sick. So why is spring water good to consume? Basically, spring water is from natural springs, so they have a high mineral content, right? And the minerals make the spring water naturally alkaline. So a lot of times you'll see in the grocery stores spring water that's like 9.5 or 8 point something. They're on the alkaline side of the scale. Basically, just to break down alkaline acids, 7 is neutral, which is where our body tends to be more on the alkaline side. That's where we want it anyway. Between a 7 and an 8, our blood pH, and like lower than 7, between 0 and 7 is acidic. Between 7 and up, actually I've seen 11, but that's like, something that's gone through an alkaline water machine, is 11, but usually the scale tends to stop at 10, but that's alkaline. So foods like raw foods, produce like kale, oranges, things like that, they're actually on the alkaline side in terms of how it's forming inside the body. So you can have citrus fruit where outside by itself is considered acidic, but it's alkaline forming inside the body. Meat, dairy, processed foods, eggs, cheese, all of that stuff is acidic. So it tends to be on the acidic side of the scale. And of course, you can learn more of this in detail in the Raw Food Challenge, because I go in detail on all this stuff and basically everything you could ever want to know about the raw food diet and lifestyle. So click on the link. That's in the description to this video as well. Check out episode resources so you can see all of that. But anyway, spring water is really good for us because it's clean, it's pure, there are no chemicals in it, it's naturally alkaline, and it has tons of minerals, which is helpful to our body and our organs. Beyond spring water is geothermal water. And geothermal water, you may know, it's very similar to hot springs. When people go to the hot springs because that water has healing properties, that's basically what geothermal water is in a form that we can drink. So it's coming naturally from a spring, tons of minerals, very healing. Actually, Dr. Gabriel Cousens mentioned in his book, Spiritual Nutrition, that water can be your anti-aging miracle drug that you didn't even know was just in your fridge or at your local grocery store. But you have to get the right type of water. He's attributing it to hydrogen donating water, which is this hydrogen water. However, God made natural spring water, which is naturally alkaline and has all these minerals. Which one do you go for, right? Which one do you choose? Speaking of alkaline water and alkalinity, I've heard many herbalists say that when you unnaturally make alkaline water, you actually can disrupt the natural balance of the cells in the body and create something called alkalosis, which is the opposite of acidosis, right? Acidosis is inflammation from acid. The body is too acidic. Alkalosis is the body's too alkaline. Now, what would a body too alkaline even look like, right? Because obviously I think most of us in the Western world really hasn't seen a body that's too alkaline, because most of us on the standard American diet are eating very acidic, inflammatory foods. So alkalosis isn't really an issue. However, I was curious, what does alkalosis actually look like? So I'll read this from the blog. Alkalosis, the symptoms of alkalosis are hand tremors, muscle twitching, nausea, and prolonged muscle spasms. Like I said, I'm not really too worried about that because we live in this world. I mean, you would have to be not only eating clean, but I would think like out in the country somewhere living where no toxins or acidic substances is coming into your body at all for this to happen, in my opinion. Again, I'm not a doctor. And it would be interesting if there are any doctors watching this, because I know there's medical professionals that are watching the show. Thank you for watching. I love to hear your comments and I want to hear them below. Have you seen anyone with alkalosis? And do you think that's a real issue that any American should be concerned about? Now, moving on. So I recently went to a workshop and I talk about that workshop and how I got even inspired to look into water, because I thought, all right, I already know we don't drink tap, we don't drink chlorinated water. What else more is there to know? Of course, you filter the water, you want it alkaline, but who knew there was an issue with alkaline water, you know, coming from a machine? You live and you learn, right? There's something new to learn every day. Then at this workshop, a doctor mentioned deuterium depleted water, and she said that it was popular in Denmark and being produced by a guy named John Ellis here in America. And she mentioned that it was showing promise for cancer patients. And when I came home and I did my research, I found, yes, people who are going through radiation therapy, treating cancer, deuterium depleted water, which basically removes the hydrogen, which is the complete opposite of hydrogen water. They remove the hydrogen because it's a heavy hydrogen nucleus, I guess, that the deuterium is basically in, which is in all water. So they remove that through this process. It helps the patients that are going through radiation, because the effects are not as bad. It kind of protects some of the healthy cells, so it's showing a lot of promise for that. Definitely read the blog so you get more detail than what I'm sharing here. These are the top points, and I definitely want to hear from you what you feel is the healthiest water to drink. As for me right now, I feel that spring water is the healthiest water to drink because it's naturally alkaline, and I think that while I do eat a high raw diet, I know that there are toxins always coming into my body or coming out just from, you know, maybe negative thoughts or fear or, you know, negative emotions. I'm putting quotes because there's really no negative emotions. All these emotions serve a purpose. However, when stress is high, you know, toxins are, you know, being created in the body, right? So plus just the body's normal process, that's why we have a lymphatic system, right? It's not like, you know, which this might be blasphemy, but it's not like God figured, oh, they're going to advance technology and be in this really dirty place with lots of radio waves and all this toxicity, so they're going to need a lymphatic system. No, like back when we were in the Garden of Eden, right? Why would we need a lymphatic system before any of this, right? Why would we need that? Because obviously the body's natural process of doing all the things that it does 24/7, it's creating waste, which is why the kidneys exist, the liver exists, you know, it's filtering out waste. The lymphatic system processes the waste, filters it out. Yo, funny note, I'm gonna share just a little bit of what do they call it? I can't remember what people call it now these days, but authenticity. Before I started my show, I had a huge fear of public speaking and doing these shows because I knew on the other side of the camera there's a ton of people watching me and judging me and all that stuff. And so I had so much fear about it. And I actually went on my personal Facebook page and was telling people how much I was shaking after my first live broadcast. And then I signed up for a course with my friend Stephanie, and she helped us, all of us, get really comfortable with doing a show live on Facebook. And I know this one is not live, and that's just because of, you know, technical issues or whatever, and I wanted to do some editing things. But what I noticed lately is that even though I'm able to do these shows more and I feel more comfortable doing them, at the same time my body is reacting in a stressed manner. And it's funny from my perspective, I'm always observing and listening and tuning into my body. Back then, before my first show, before I went live, like, you can ask Stephanie, she can attest to it. Like, I went into her group, her Facebook group, and I said, listen, I feel like I'm being pushed off of a cliff right now. I am so nervous. I was so sick. I wanted to throw up before I went live. But if you watch that first show, I bet you could never tell, right? I bet you could never tell. But anyway, I noticed recently, like, I don't know if you guys, those who watch me a lot, like, you probably noticed the past few shows, like, I just seem thirsty. Like, how could she be talking about water? She sounds so thirsty, and she's like breaking up, and, you know, people here passing me water and all this kind of stuff. The reason is, I get into this thing. My body is surging with stress hormones. I always have anxiety with social anxiety, public speaking, and I've done those things, right? I've talked, I've done workshops, you know. You'll see me in public spaces doing the thing. It doesn't mean that I'm not nervous and scared inside and sweating out my life, right? Which is why I drink a lot of water, because we're losing so much water through sweat, through breathing, all this stuff. But, you know, when I get on these live shows, my mouth dries up. It dries up, and it hit me because I had a stressful situation where I had to have a really stressful conversation, and I lost all the saliva in my mouth completely. My mouth went completely dry, which, you know, is really not healthy for my mouth bacteria, that whole balance. But, you know, anyway, health coach talking. But anyway, I just think it was fun and interesting. I wanted to give you that bit of insight that, you know, I'm over here, I'm drinking my water. At the same time, due to stress, my body is responding and is just stripping me of all moisture in my mouth right now. Anyway, I drink spring water. It is naturally alkaline. It is natural water, you know, and I find it to be accessible. I can get it by the gallon for emergencies. I can get it, you know, the glass bottles, to avoid consuming plastic, you know. Yes, it's a little bit more costly, but again, the same thing with veganism. Like, the more people invest into a thing, we vote with our dollars, and so this spring water should be more accessible. Now, more readily available for everybody. But it's available. If you look in your supermarket, in your local supermarket, you will see that spring water is there. But there are ways that you can even, if it's not naturally alkaline, that type of spring water, there are ways that you can make it more hydrogen donating, so you get that benefit by putting lime or lemon in there, apple cider vinegar in there. And I have more suggestions on that on the blog, so click on that, rawfoodmealplanner.com/water. You can also add minerals or chlorophyll. I mean, you could definitely boost your water. I love one of the things my mom does where she juices ginger and she'll add ginger juice to her water. So, you know, there's so many things you could do. Spice it up, make it fun, make it interesting, make it even healthier for you. So definitely check the blog, and I hope you're having an amazing, amazing week. I hope you learned something new. And what are we talking about next week? Next week, we're going to talk about oils a little bit. Healthy oils. Should you be cooking with them? Should you not be cooking with them? Which ones should you use? I think it's a very important topic. We do go into oils in the raw food challenge. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that next week. But if you want to get a head start and get a head start on your health, definitely join us for this 30-day raw vegan challenge. The link is in the description below. So until next week, have a blessed one.